Do you play War Thunder and are you struggling with the economy? You can now get free golden eagles by downloading the app down below and completing simple tasks. If you use my referral code EPGEK, you get 10 golden eagles upon signing in. And if all of you accumulate enough golden eagles throughout that link, I will be able to host 5,000 golden eagle giveaways with the golden eagles that you guys have earned. Welcome back, and today we are flying out the Meteor Mk.8 Reaper. It's the 8.0 British Premium. It's pretty decent, there are some issues with it, but overall I think it's pretty solid, although it could be a little bit better. If you are wondering what all the whistling and all the noises in the background, well, let me tell you.
Fucking windy!
Haters will say it's my gaping asshole, but let me tell you, that's not the case today. I'm wearing a plug. So, the Meteor Mk.8 is... It's kind of average at everything. Of course, the main selling point here is gonna be the maneuverability, and that is definitely pretty good. The issue here comes from the fact that you either have to run 20 minutes of fuel or you are stuck on 6.5, and I'm mostly gonna run 6.5. This is the first game I did in the thing, and I am running 20 here. It's also a high altitude map, and you can tell that this thing kind of just turns into a boat. It's the combination of just all the extra weight as well as the very low air density together with the fact you don't accelerate as well. Fuel just always hinders you in basically every regard in these planes. That's why I just fly it as the one trip machine. I do climb in with about 80% throttle, get a bit of altitude, get to the higher, less air dense areas where you conserve a lot more fuel, and then mostly you get like in the fight with about 5 minutes left, and the way back is really not in my mind. If I have to glide back, so be it. If I don't make it back, so be it as well. I kind of fly this thing like a suicidal maniac. This lends it most to the plane, but it's also, in my opinion, the most amount of fun, because you can actually take fights while you are a bit on the timer, and you will probably get killed while you are gliding back to the base. The games are pretty short nowadays, and you won't find yourself out of fuel all that often. The annoying thing is that you do have quite a bit of ammo, and the guns are pretty decent, so you will have to find yourself going RTB while you still have plenty of ammo to kill 6 more people, which is a little bit annoying, especially if you are ammo conservative, but that also means that you can actually spray a little bit, because you are only 6 minutes of fuel. You have plenty of ammo, and you can basically just pretend you are a missile and go for that 1 or 2 kill mentality, and most of the time you will end up getting more, because this thing is just very easy to fly. Ergonomically, this is one of the easiest planes to pick up and fly. It does exactly what you want it to do. The guns are easy to aim if you don't miss all your shots. This was my first game. Give me a break, please. It's gonna get better throughout the video. But that's the main issue with this thing. It's the fuel load. If you can carry 10 minutes of fuel of this thing, maybe in the future if they add fuel sliders or something. I used to be completely against this, but nowadays with how the matches are going, I think it's completely fine. But I'm not gonna go too in depth onto those kind of topics, because today we are gonna be looking at the Meteor Mk.8. And if you are wondering why I'm using this exact footage as the background material, it's because I'm just trying to show you how much of a boat it is compared to the rest of the footage, and I don't really have to talk about anything that's going on in the background, because I'm kind of just trying to survive. I'm trying to not die instantly, and I'm trying to pick my fight so that I can actually get my speed back up. And you can tell that the acceleration, when you still have 16 minutes of fuel left, just really isn't all that. Now sure, we are at 2 kilometers of altitude, at least when it comes to the air pressure, and it does hinder it a little bit, but let me tell you, the fuel just impacts this thing drastically, because the way you fly this thing is by kind of mingling with everyone at the same time, because you're not fast enough to really run from anyone, unless of course you get down tier, then this thing is an absolute menace. And then I would almost say get 20 minutes of fuel. You will get away with it, but be careful if you do run into some planes like an LA-15 for example, or other A.N.Os that are very strong. You might find yourself not winning the fight and just running out of energy. So again, it's mostly personal preference. 6 minutes of fuel is fine most of the time. So let's take a look at it. We get into the fight, we have 5 minutes left because we climbed in with about 80% throttle. We get some altitude, we get some speed in, and then we start engaging people. Now we have CL-13s and Mk.8s around, and these planes will beat you. They are better than you, unless it's of course a CL Mark IV. So we dive on the CL Mark IV. Luckily he takes himself out for dinner, and now, well, the CL is gone. That was basically a free kill, but the CL-13 is best used as a 1-kill missile, and that's exactly what he got. So we are now going to engage the Mk.15. I'm not sure if it's a 15 bis or a regular. I'm going to assume a 15 bis, but it's not. It's the regular one. And I'm not really too worried about him. All I need to do is make sure that I stay out of his guns. His roll rate isn't too good, and mine is fantastic. So I'm simply going to stay above his nose. I'm going to kind of just let him pass underneath us, and then slowly but surely pull directly into him. Then we crit him, and once the 15 is crit, that thing is basically unflyable. So we just give him a little love tap and send him back to the hangar. Then another CL-13 pops up, and it's a CL-13 Mark IV yet again, who is again gonna be good at getting a singular kill. But I'm not gonna be his singular kill, so I'm gonna make sure to stay out of his guns. Shoots like 250 cals and one of them hits us. Luckily this thing is also a flying tank, and 50 cals aren't that strong versus tanks. So we get under him, behind him, and I mean he's not paying attention at all, and we just instantly send him back to the hangar as well. And then the F-84F shows up, and I just want to put this in here to show how absolutely helpless this thing is. We are on 1 minute of fuel. I could RTB with the damage and the fuel that I have. However, that's not really a plan in this thing, so I'm simply gonna try to reel him in. Now the F-84F here made an absolute critical error, one that will cost him his life. The error here is that he took the F-84F into Area B and tried to actually fly it out instead of, well, just crashing into the ground. The result kind of ends up being the same. We instantly get on the 6, we instantly just kind of cream him and put him in the ground. I mean, the F-84F, it's one of the saddest planes in the game, and I'm not sure why this thing is even in the game anymore. If we can artificially buff that thing so it can actually be somewhat decent, it might be unrealistic. But this plane right now has basically no redeeming qualities about it. It's too fast to down tier, and it's simply too bad to fly other than the speed. And you know, if you have a plane that's only fast, and the rest is actually like super bad, you know exactly how painful it is to fly those things if you are not in a squad. But you know, let's take a look at another one-way trip. So we have our elevator crit, we basically lost all of our maneuverability, and we have the F-84 that crit us earlier actually chased us around. Well, there's an Me-262C in front of us, and I'm kind of hell-bound on killing him right here, because I'm already on a 6, and I know that this F-84 is going to chase me till the end of the earth. This guy is dodging, so I kind of shoot a pattern around him in the way he was dodging before. So we managed to crit him, and now we can turn into the F-84G and go defensive and hopefully reverse him. Hopefully the 262 is crit enough. It is a 262, so he probably isn't, but he's at least gonna feel the damage, because he always end up critting their wing routes and then they make it back to base. So maybe he is fine. However, the Me-262 is in fact not fine. He roleplays as a beaver and ends up hugging a tree. The F-84G then kind of turns in front of us. I mean, he keeps turning back into my guns. If you are watching this, just turn into one direction. I'm crit. I don't have any pull at all. If you're faster than me while also having more turn rate, because you crit me, he crit me, he knows that he crit me, he got the message as well. And he should be able to tell that I just have no maneuverability left other than my roll rate. Just pull in one direction. I will not be able to follow you. I don't have the pull to actually contest it. And I have to break off, reset and get my speed back up. But in that kind of scenario, you're gonna do better than me, because I'm already crit, I'm low, I'm slow. You had all the cards in your hand, and all you had to do was not turn left, right, and keep doing that until I eventually reel you in. B-29 gets crit. I mean, he also gets disassembled by the rest of my team. Not really a big issue. I just like to crit those guys at the start of the game, because I know that I'm low on fuel, and if those guys keep climbing and I land and I have to reclimb, and the B-29 has been climbing the entirety of the match, what ends up happening is that I have to climb to like 9 kilometers, and I'm really not feeling that one. 262 is not paying attention. We dive on him, we take him out. And now we start the small furball kind of. I need to be wary, because there is multiple people coming in. This furball is way too small. There's a lot of people unspotted. So I need to be aware of the fact that there are going to be more people coming in any time now. And that's another issue with this thing. If you want to take fights, you need to be very aware. You can react last second with this thing, because it is responsive enough. And it does exactly what you want it to. However, you do need to react. So you need to be looking around. And if you get slow in the middle of the fight, if you start reversing people like this, and you can tell that I'm gaining slowly on him, but there's a teammate coming in, so I'm just going to pull him in front of him. You need to be aware, because you are going to be an easy target if you are not looking around, and if you are slow, well, guess what? It's easy for anyone to shoot you down. And if you are slow in a Meteor, let me tell you, people want you dead, because they know Meteors are kind of annoying to deal with. They're not like Apex Predators or anything. It's not an F-16 or like a Griffin. But people know that Meteors are kind of annoying to deal with, so if you are slow in front of them, they are gonna go for you, and they will go for the easy kill on the harder to kill target. Now in this furball, and this right here is why I run 6 minutes, because I can actually keep this turn fight up, and because this thing maintains its energy quite well, we can kind of just pitch up after people and take shots at them. Now unfortunately we only get a hit there, And I can't really take this fight right now because there's too many F2Hs around. Which I will fly out pretty soon here because now it lost its fuel tanks. It also lost a hell of a lot of fuel. So kind of in the same boat as this thing was. But now it's a lot more flyable. I believe min fuel is now like 14 minutes of fuel. Which is basically bang on perfect. Because that thing was a little bit heavy. We go for the F2H. I mean, he gets his wing taken out. I shoot at him anyway. Because I wasn't actually paying attention. We miss everything, we don't end up stealing it, so that's absolutely perfect. And the second F2H just kind of turns in front of us. And this is another strength of the plane. You can just stay in those fights for so long that if you stay alive for long enough, everyone around you is going to end up without energy sooner rather than later. And then you can kind of just pick everyone off. But again, if there's one guy at altitude, one guy that's side climbing, or one guy that's simply the gypped in, join in progress a little bit late into the game, and he comes from their side of the map and you aren't looking at them, he is gonna kill you. So again, stay vigilant, and this thing should reward you with it. But overall, this thing is pretty straightforward. You just kind of do whatever the hell you want. Just don't think about the trip back home. Just hope that you kill everyone before you run out of fuel. And personally, that's the most amount of success that I've gotten in it. And I've also flown the other Mk.8 a little bit, the Israeli one, as well as the British one a little bit. So to see if the matchmakers change anything. And I mean, it's kind of just the same stuff. You are slower than most of the planes that you outturn. And you're also faster than most of the planes that you outturn. You just want to be mostly careful of planes like the Me-163 and the Ki-200. You are faster than them. But they have about the same fuel as you. And if they actually manage the fuel properly, you're not that much faster, and they absolutely rinse you in a dogfight, and you don't want to take those fights. You can try to reverse them while they're still on high fuel. The issue is that most of the time, because the maps are a little bit bigger nowadays, they are already on like 4 to 3 minutes of fuel once you reach them. And let me tell you, you're not going to have a very great time dogfighting them then. And even at low speed, when they are full of fuel, they are still very annoying to deal with. And you really want to be careful of those things. Those are your main enemies. Something like an Me-262 A1U1 definitely isn't a problem. So we kind of just wait on the left side of him because he is just bobbing and weaving left and right. So we just wait on one side until he pulls into it. He's not paying attention to where my nose is pointing. And he just kind of pulls into my guns. And that is going to be kill number 1 or 2. I have no idea. I haven't been paying attention. I get one of them on a 6 again. There's also one in front of us. But the one in front of us is actually actively engaging someone. So I am thinking if I can maybe intercept him, as he is not really paying attention to me. But I do want to be careful of the Me-262 on my left there. That is now engaging the A28. But because he is engaging the A28, he's not really paying attention. And I can just kind of pull directly behind him. And because my turning circle is so much slower, or smaller I should say, we just kind of instantly pull inside of him and we Epstein him in the back of his head. The other 262 is now flying away from us, but we are much faster than him because, well, we are in Mk.8 Meteor and this is the A1U1. And the A1U1 is the by far worst 262 when it comes to the flight performance. He kind of just pulls in front of us. We kind of just spray at him and we take him down. The team is kind of being thinned out. We have 555 rounds left, so we can kind of just start spraying at everyone. F-84 comes in, and I know I'm gonna win the dogfight. So instead of trying to merge in a head-on, I'm gonna actually let him on my 6. And I'm just gonna pull over his nose and make sure that he actually overshoots. And he does exactly that, and because he actually stuck on us, he lost a significant amount of speed. And because of that, well, we instantly get on his 6. And then he tries to air brake, which, well, I mean, he wasn't gonna win that anyway, but I'm not entirely sure what his battle plan was right there. He ends up eating some 20 mils, and we engage the next guy. And this is why the down tiers are so criminally unfair. That's also why it's at the end of the video, because it's super unskillful gaming. Other than maybe the... no, not even that. Never mind. It's highly unskillful gaming. You kind of just bully everyone. The issue is that you are again on a timer and you kind of fly this thing like you would with an Me-163, except with a little bit less acceleration and a little bit more retention. Now, call this a steal, but he got his steal rammed off, so no one is going to get it. So instead of it flying into the ground, I'm going to make sure that at least someone gets it. Wait for him to fly straight, shoot a few more rounds. Down he goes, and we have 1 minute and 53 seconds of fuel left. Now, are we gonna think about going back to base? No, not quite yet, because I have 1.5 minutes of fuel left, and I can probably still make it back to the base as long as I don't go too slow. But if you kill these two guys over here, then we are actually completely fine, as we have a decent amount of friendlies around. I'm gonna maintain the pressure in the plane that's much better than theirs. So I can probably mop these two guys up before my fuel runs out. And then I don't even have to worry about it. And that's the most fun way to fly it, in my opinion. It's also the best way in terms of grinding. Because if you do end up dying, you're not crew locked, you can go again. And you don't really have to worry about anything. Get a long shot on the F3D. F80 starts pulling in. And I'm just gonna basically hose him down in the lead. Set him on fire. And that's going to be an assist, unfortunately. It's also a low-key steal, so it doesn't really matter. And that's all I have for you today. The other guy there is gonna end up landing and leaving. We are gonna go back to the base now, land and rearm. But before I take off, the game is over, as it is per usual.